Welcome to this explainer. We're about to take a fascinating journey from deep inside your cells all the way out to the surface of your skin. Have you ever actually stopped to think about how your body stores the fuel from your lunch, transports it through a completely watery bloodstream, and then regulates your temperature so you don't overheat or freeze? It's literally a masterpiece of biological engineering, and today we're unpacking exactly how this hidden machinery works. Okay, here's our agenda. We're going to cover 1. The secret life of fat. 2. Bloodstream delivery trucks. 3. System malfunctions and obesity. 4. The body's ultimate armor. And 5. Hair, nails, and sebum. We're basically moving inside out today. Let's start with Section 1. The secret life of fat, the body's energy vault and insulation system. Now, fat definitely gets a bad rap, but it's actually a highly specialized tissue that makes up 15 to 25% of the average person's body weight. And the absolute most crucial thing to understand here is that fat is our most efficient repository of energy. When your body breaks it down, it yields a massive 9.3 kilocalories per gram. It's like the ultimate biological battery, packing an incredible amount of life-sustaining power into a super small space. It provides mechanical padding and thermal insulation, but is all body fat exactly the same? Well, if you look closely at human anatomy, the answer is a resounding no. We actually have two completely different types of fat. White adipose tissue, or WAT, is the ubiquitous fat found everywhere in your body, designed strictly for energy storage. Its cells are unilocular, meaning they just contain one single massive lipid droplet. But then you have brown adipose tissue, or BAT. These cells are multilocular, meaning they're packed with multiple small droplets and a ton of mitochondria. And its primary job isn't even to store energy, it burns it to create heat. It's a process called non-shivering thermogenesis, and it's absolutely vital for keeping newborns warm. What's really wild is the composition of that white adipose tissue. Think about this. It is overwhelmingly dominated by fat. 82% of the tissue is literally just fat. The rest of the cellular machinery gets pushed all the way to the very edges of the cell just to make room for that one giant energy droplet. Water makes up 15%, and protein is just 3%.
But contrast that with brown fat. Here, water actually takes up the majority of the space at 55%, while fat is only 30% and protein sits at 15%. That higher water and protein content completely supports its highly metabolic, heat-producing function. It needs a dense capillary network and strong sympathetic innervation to do its job, which, by the way, is exactly what gives it that darker brown color.
Moving right along to Section 2, bloodstream delivery trucks navigating the aqueous highway.
So, we have a fundamental logistical problem in the body. Dietary and synthesized lipids are completely insoluble in water. And since your blood plasma is mostly water, how on earth does your body ship fat from your liver to your tissues without it separating like oil and vinegar? The answer is lipoproteins. To survive the watery bloodstream, lipids use these water-miscible macromolecular complexes as amphipathic submarines. They have a protective outer shell made of apoproteins and lipids with polar heads facing the water, which perfectly hides the hydrophobic, or water-fearing, core safely inside.
Our fleet of delivery trucks is categorized inversely by density and size. Basically, the more lipid they carry, the lighter and larger they are. It's a fascinating progression. You start with massive chylomicrons at the lowest density, which carry the fats you just ate from your intestine. Then you have VLDL from your liver exporting endogenous triglycerides, stepping down to LDL, which delivers cholesterol to your tissues. And finally, HDL, the smallest, most dense particle of the bunch, which acts like a cleanup crew, pulling off reverse cholesterol transport back to the liver.
But of course, biological systems can and do malfunction. That brings us to Section 3, system malfunctions and obesity, when the machinery breaks down. It is so critical to understand that there are two totally distinct types of obesity here. Hypertrophic obesity is what's typical of adult weight gain. You aren't actually growing new fat cells, you're simply inflating your existing fat cells with more triglycerides. Hyperplastic obesity, on the other hand, develops during childhood or puberty, and this actually permanently increases the total number of fat cells in the body. And once those cells are formed, they are there for life. Losing weight as an adult might shrink them, but it doesn't reduce their actual numbers. And when those lipoprotein delivery trucks we talked about malfunction, or your body lacks the right cellular receptors, we see clinical dyslipoproteinemias. For instance, if the liver overproduces triglycerides or can't secrete VLDL properly, you get fatty liver, or steatosis. If you have a genetic defect resulting in deficient LDL receptors, you end up with familial hypercholesterolemia, which causes severe atherosclerosis.
There's even abetalipoproteinemia, which is an inability to load ApoB with lipids causing severe malabsorption. It just shows how incredibly delicately balanced this whole internal transport system really is.
Let's journey outward from those deep internal pathways to the surface. Section 4. The body's ultimate armor, climate control and the integumentary system.
Your skin isn't just a wrapper for your organs. It's a highly active barrier and thermoregulatory organ. A huge part of that climate control involves sweat, and we actually rely on two totally different cooling systems. First, the eccrine sweat glands. These are distributed everywhere on your body, innervated by acetylcholine, and they secrete a dilute, watery solution that cools us down via evaporation. Then you have the apocrine sweat glands. These are located in specific areas like the axillae, or armpits, and anogenital regions. They're linked to puberty, driven by adrenaline, and they secrete a thick, lipid-rich substance. Now, here is a really fascinating fact. That thick secretion from your apocrine glands, it's actually completely sterile and odorless when it first hits the surface of your skin. It only becomes an issue when surface bacteria get a hold of those lipids and break them down. That bacterial decomposition is exactly what creates body odor, or what we clinically call bromhidrosis.
Finally, let's explore Section 5, hair, nails, and sebum, the external protective barriers. Along with sweat, our integumentary system uses hair, nails, and sebum, which is an oily mix of fatty acids and waxes, to keep us protected. And even your hair operates on a highly regulated, rhythmic machine schedule. Hair growth is not random at all. It follows a strict, autonomous, three-step cycle. Step 1 is anagen, the active growth stage, stimulated by androgens. Step 2 is catagen, the involution and breakdown stage. And Step 3 is telogen, which is the resting phase.
To put that into perspective, here's a crazy number for you. Right now, as you're listening to this, approximately 90% of the hairs on your scalp are actively growing in that very first anagen phase. Your body is just constantly working, constantly generating this keratin armor. Our nails also serve a pretty clever hidden purpose. Ever wonder why your nails are naturally pink? Well, those hard plates of dead keratin cells actually sit directly above specialized vascular networks called glomus bodies. These act like tiny thermal valves regulating peripheral blood flow, actively working to prevent your fingers from freezing in cold weather. It's basically a built-in anti-freeze system for your fingertips.
From storing incredibly dense energy at 9.3 kilocalories per gram deep in your tissues, to navigating a watery bloodstream with lipoprotein submarines, to cooling your skin and protecting your fingertips, your body is an endlessly interconnected masterpiece. You are quite literally a walking, breathing marvel of engineering. So leaving you with this final thought. Knowing how intricately your internal energy, transport, and external armor systems are linked, how will you care for your body's hidden machinery today? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep feeding your curiosity.